is HaShulchan Yerodeh Siman Lamed Aleph, Sif Aleph through Hey, and this is Supplemental Day 162 of the HaShulchan Yomi series. Lamrav. Din Nikivas Hamocha Krumab. The halacha of the punctured brain and its membranes. The brain has two membranes. One is a thick crust, and adheres around the skull. And the second is a thin membrane, in which the actual brain is to be found. If the upper membrane is pierced, it's treifa. The game since the strong membrane has been pierced. So it's automatic that the second one, on account of its thinness, also in cave is going to get punctured. The animal not survive. The Ram hold the opposite. The cold everything is due to the lower membrane. Even though it's a very thin membrane, since the brain is within it, once it's punctured, it's as if the brain is revealed to the skull. It's not going to survive. The upper membrane, even though it's thick, nevertheless, it adheres to the bone and not to the brain. But if the upper one is pierced and the bottom one is kosher. So we're not concerned that the bottom one will burst on account of its thinness. The first opinion holds that if the bottom one is pierced on the top one, it's kosher. Because the upper one protects the brain, and the brain is not revealed to the bone. And those hold, he had a third sheet, the Ravon and the Rosh, only they're both pierced as treifa. And those who say either one, which gets the whole is the treifa, that's the Bahag. The reason we have these discrepancies is because of their different gilsois in the Gemara. Base. Uladina pasuk Rabbein says from Rama. The Rama base says pasuk Rama Nika be'elyon kashera. If the upper membrane is pierced, it's kosher. Nika be'tachon treifa. The lower membrane is pierced, it's treifa. Rabbein Rama after Rama writes Yeshua Shivin Gagei Nika be'elyon. Those who say it's treifa, even if only the upper membrane is pierced. V'achi nog is the costing law b'efsim, not in the case of substantial loss. Akan l'shono. G'day achronim masir afilu b'efsim ruba. The great achronim answer, even if there's going to be substantial loss. Came in das ba'alochas goes to step in the bahag is like treifa chamim. It says treifa even if only one of them is pierced. Chod v'ol divrei kabbalah. I mean the bahag writes, you know how he had a meseira. It's the bach and the taz and the shach and the yam shleimah. Pashtu, it's obvious that Nekav Tzarech Lios and foolish, the puncture has to be through and through. And Rachatzia Krum Nika, if only half of the membrane is pierced, on the smas mace or has become dissolved, I skipped. Enoklum, it's nothing. And Rachatzia Krum Nika, Enoklum, it's not nothing. Near Kav Tzatzakum, a part of it has become rotted on the smas mace or dissolved. Dino Kinikev, it's the same as a whole. Why by a long we're machshir if the both membranes are not pierced? As I'm seeing above, like we saw, like we will see. Sorry, by brain we say it's treif. So we don't make comparisons between treifas one and the other. For the friend of the brea in the hung long snake both of the membranes are equal. They're both clinging to the one. As opposed to the brain, each of the membranes has an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage of the upper membrane is that it's strong, but and thick. But the disadvantage is primarily connected to the bone. Oh no, I skipped. The lower membrane is dark, is thin, and weak, and that's its shortcoming because but its advantage that it's primarily clinging to the brain. Therefore, there are reasons to go both ways. According to the primary one is the upper one. With the Rif Rama, according to Rif Rama, the primary one is the lower one. Who can make to make a determination between the giants of the world in a Torah prohibition? I'm astonished that somebody wants to be lenient in a case of substantial loss if only the upper one is pierced. Practice I'm pre-chodesh for sure. Is that ikum machmir? The primary reason to be machmir is the echluk tesis ben tesis very for Rambam is account of the difference between the tesis and the Rif and the Rambam. Kimmel in Paschal go. So he opened up the skull. Veron they found shebifnim yotzei etzem dak v'chad. Then inside there is a bone which comes out which is sharp. Which is thin and sharp, so it in itself can pierce the membranes. You should check very carefully opposite this part of the skull in the membranes. They're found to be whole, kosher, the animal's kosher, the came do mokum yaldua, since the specific place. We're not checking generically. We're checking specific place. We know how to check these things. It's a place where it's customary to find such a bone, or it's prevalent to find such a bone. Saying near you should open every skull and check if there are these sharp bones. Those who need the chuvas based of Chaim. It says, I think the macher can do davar shu davar matzi because it's something which is something prevalent in the scenario that is indeed prevalent. So if the bone was pierced by a thorn, so and the hole does not have the measure of a selah coin, they said they become treif on account of that hole. You have to check opposite the hole. In the membranes, they do not have a hole. Also, it's possible where the bone is becomes slightly holy, H-O-L-Y, H-O-L-E-Y, for the holes. You have to check the membranes. But exercises that one has to consider this further. The Ram writes the brain itself, which became rotted on his mech or crushed, and the memory is intact. Share is kosher. If it spills around like water, donag, or like it gets molten wax, treif even when the problem is at the edge of the brain. It's like it goes by the skull. Nevertheless, if it doesn't spill like water or like this hot wax, because we our Masorah says this doesn't damage the life force of the animal. If the problem is in the middle of the brain, there, even if you find actual water, if the brain envelops water on all sides, as we see. There's no measure of this. I feel nikrav on it says nikrav here, but it should be nirkav. Either rotted or it's crushed, much of the brain, as long as the memory is intact, kashera. Hey, Lashon Torah came. This is what Torah says. Some of the brain is missing, such as a rotted on his mouth is crushed. And the memory is intact. It's kosher. If it gets dissolved, and it spills like water, within the membrane, or became soft. If it was the softness that if this wasn't a spinal column, and we lift up the animal not be able to sustain its upright posture, it's treifa kosher. It sounds like dafka shechasem kosher only if it's missing a little bit, it's kosher. If it's missing a lot. Can you listen for that from the language of Rambam? He didn't mention anything missing. And Meluvon understood the Kamish and Nirkam Smite, once it becomes rotted or crushed, Mela she is considered as we automatically as it has something missing. When you have healthy and good flesh, and that's the carbon, and it becomes rotted, the Smite becomes less. However, the amount which the term considered to be rotted is not clear. Lo Ram, not Ram, Lo Tur. Masha feel near Kavah Isma Kol Moach. It sounds like even if the entire brain has become rotted or dissolved, rak chistorim ma'at, but there's very little missing. Kosher kayam ksher, as long as the membrane is intact, it is kosher. But tomorrow is going to say that's not necessarily that way.